Okay, it's 6 p.m. in California. I guess we're live now. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. Uh-oh, why am I hearing myself? California. I guess we're live now. It's because my laptop wasn't muted. These are the lessons you learn live on the fly. Anyway, I don't want to waste your time with some rigmarole about me and what I'm up to. I'm kind of too excited for tonight's guest. So we're just going to go ahead and get to our guest. Hey, Lauren. Yay. All right. Tonight's guest will be no stranger to fans of 90s Christian ska. That's right, all 12 of us. This gifted musician has been writing my favorite songs for as long as I've been buying records. That's more than 2.5 decades. You may recognize his work in groups such as Five Iron Frenzy, The Fast Feeling, and Yellow Second. Please welcome to the stream bassist, guitarist, singer, and songwriter, Scott Kerr. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's it going? Are you staying warm, staying safe with all this inclement weather?
Yeah, I don't have to leave my house today, so that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sunday when I woke up, my phone said it was 7 below outside.
Good Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little intense. That's a little colder than I ever need to be in my life. I never need to experience temperatures like that. I can just know they're out there somewhere.
It's a very angry cold. But my brother-in-law lives in Sunburst, Montana, which I think is about 15 minutes or 15 miles south of the Canadian border. And he'll send me screenshots of his phone that says it's like 47 below. And, I've got nothing to compete with that.
Nice. Okay. Well, that I suppose, yeah, if it's a competition, I mean, there's always a colder place. Even the astronauts, they can always just go out into space. I assume it's cold there. So now you and Five Iron just released a new album called Until This Shakes Apart, and it's been getting rave reviews from pretty much everybody who isn't a follower of QAnon. CCM Magazine called it smart and relevant. Ringmaster Review said it left them breathless, exhilarated, and greedy for more. The Morning Call said it blends solid vocal melodies, striking horn parts, and a potent rhythm section that doesn't skimp on hooks or rocking energy. I've seen glowing statements from Bearded Gentleman Music, Offshelf.net, The Brooklyn Vegan, not to mention the 252 5-star reviews currently on Amazon.com. So my question for you is, Scott, how does it feel to finally be acknowledged as a rock star?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's really stretching the word rock star. It feels very good to have, more than anything, it feels good to have the fans that have followed us for the last 2.5 decades actually still caring about what we do and not only wanting to hear the old stuff. That's pretty gratifying.
Absolutely, yeah. You just calls of Combat Chuck eventually get a little tiresome probably after 25 years since you wrote Combat. Or I don't want to assume. I don't want to put I don't want to put words in your mouth. But that's good. Yeah, always the opportunity to do new stuff. I'm in favor. Agreed. So we've got a lot of cooking to do, and you've given me a great recipe to veganize. So I'll save the rest of my music-related questions for when we've got moments when we're waiting on food to cook. And I'm eager to talk about music, but this is a cooking show, so I better get with the cooking. So here we go. Step 1. If you're watching at home, cut the chicken or tofu pieces into about 1-inch pieces. Okay, I'm about to launch a video file of what I did last night, and when I did this last night, it crashed my computer. So if this crashes, I've got fail safes in place. But be prepared. Okay. Here we go. So you want to marinate the pieces of chicken. Oh, thank God, it's playing. And then you want to add the spices, mix up the spices, throw them in with the meatless chicken pieces or the tofu. Add a tablespoon of oil. These mock meats can get a little dry, so I added a 2nd tablespoon of oil, but it's kind of not necessary. It's pretty good with one. I wanted a 2nd tablespoon, so I put it in there. Add those to a container, put them in the fridge, and then you've got your marinated chicken. So that's step 1. Have you done this already, Scott?
I have. As I told you beforehand, I am not a very good multitasker, so I did as much preparation before this so that I could carry on a halfway intelligent conversation.
I think that was an intelligent move on your part. I questioned whether or not I should prep the food beforehand, and I thought, well, I do need footage because for the edit that I'm going to do later, and so I figured I'd do a moderate amount of prep. I've already peeled my ginger, I've already peeled my garlic, but haven't cut the potato, haven't cut the cilantro, haven't cut the shallots. So we got some time. So step two, in a food processor. Speaking of, we want to mince the garlic, ginger, shallot, dried chili, and roots or the stems of the bunch of cilantro. Do you know a quick way for prepping cilantro, by the way?
No, I mean, the nice thing about it is if you're going to use a food processor, as you do in this, like the whole thing tastes good. So, you know, it's not like parsley where you have to at least get rid of the coarse stems. So all of it tastes good. So, unless it's a presentation thing that you need to, you know, worry about, then you don't have to be as careful with it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's good to know. I've been spending entirely too much time prepping cilantro in my rehearsals for this. Then that's actually very good to know. Good tip. This is what people tune in for, is the great cooking advice from our guests.
yeah, you'll get maybe one or two nuggets like that from me, but I'm definitely an amateur.
Same.
But I love it.
Same. Oh, excellent. Well, good. Yeah, same. I like cooking is something that I came to like. It was a fun hobby. It became a fun habit, and I never took the time to really like everything I learned about cooking. I learned either from a YouTube tutorial or from Brian Gilmore, our regular guest, who often teaches me the right way to cut vegetables and stuff. So that's good to know. All right. Oh, you're way ahead of me with the sweet potatoes.
Sorry, I don't want my oil to burn, so
No, that's smart.
it's already hot.
That's smart. Don't waste any time. That's good. I'm going to prep this shallot. Scott, do you have a favorite Fire and Frenzy song? Lauren in the chat. That's my girlfriend Lauren wants to know.
I don't know if I have a favorite song. I would probably right now pick one off the new album because it's new and I haven't grown tired of those songs yet.
Sure.
But it's inevitable.
Okay. All right.
I like Renegades a lot. Off the
Renegades.
Yeah, that's probably, if I had to pick one right now, that would be it.
Okay.
Off the last album, could probably narrow it down to three. Dark and Stormy, Against the Sea of Troubles, and Blizzards and Bygones would be the three.
Those are great songs. Yeah.
And all the old songs suck, so.
Every last one of them. Yeah, I was going through the old catalog and comparing like compositional styles over time. And like, for example, the average tempo on y'all's first album, Upbeats and Beatdowns, was 213 beats per second.
Per second, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
right. beats per minute. Yeah, beats per minute. Yeah, 213. Yeah, per second. And the new album, you've cut that by 70 beats per minute. So that suits me as I've grown older and need breaks at rock shows. But is that what? I don't have a question related to that. I just thought it was an interesting observation that the tempo has slowed down over time. Is that a deliberate choice? Is that about the movement away from ska? Is that about anything in particular?
It's about the movement towards old age.
Excellent. Relatable.
No, yeah. I mean, part of that's true. When Five Iron first got back together, and I was learning those songs, relearning those songs, or some of them learning them for the first time on bass, I just thought it was ridiculous how fast some of those were. It kind of made me angry how fast some of them were. And I'm responsible for that, at least in part. But at one time, I guess my 19-year-old internal clock, that felt like the right tempo for those songs, and now they just all seem way too fast.
Sure.
Although I will say, when you play it live, you have a tendency to speed it up anyway, so they feel better when you've got that adrenaline going. But anyway, sorry, I didn't really answer your question truthfully. Part of the goal after Engine, a lot of us really kind of liked the sound of someone else's problem. It made me want to explore that sound more, and it's not a style of ska that we'd ever really done on previous records when we were still, kind of a ska band. And I wrote one and then another and then another, and I was just really enjoying that. In fact, I wanted to do an entire album of that style, but not everybody was on board with that, and it's probably for the best. It's good to have some variety and some songs that harken more back to a traditional 5-iron sound. So it was probably all for the best that we didn't make an album entirely of songs like that. It's just what was inspiring me at the moment. That was really the only reason.
Okay. So when setting out to write a song, do you have a specific process? Is it just pick a key, pick a tempo, and work your way through the circle of fifths? Is it
no, they come in different ways. I'll usually have an idea just kind of pop in my head. Sometimes I wake up with a song that I've never heard in my head before, and I'll just record a voice note of it so I won't forget it. And then hopefully, eventually, when I have some time, I'll actually start working out the details of it. Other times it happens when I'm just playing guitar or bass. That's pretty much it. That's how it starts anyway.
okay?
It's usually not I want to achieve this specific sound. It's just I hear something in my head that I think is cool, and I explore it.
Nice. I have a condition that producers frequently call loopitis, where I'll write an eight measure progression or melody or both, and then find myself just playing those same 8 measures on repeat and not knowing how the rest of the song should go. Like I've got a good verse or a chorus or a good intro, but I have no idea how to build the rest of the song, like a bridge or another. Do you have any process for sort of breaking through that, or do the ideas come to you fully formed? And if that's the case, I'll just give up now and say, well, I just like the talent. But if you've got a process for breaking through that, I would be very interested to hear
it. They don't start fully formed generally. I guess it depends on how much time I have to work on it. I used to drive a lot more, and that's where a lot of my ideas would start. And depending on how long the drive was, would kind of dictate how much I could accomplish in that. I don't know. It is kind of an intuitive thing for me. That's not to say I don't ever get stuck, but if I do get stuck and I leave it for a while and come back with fresh ears, I usually have an intuition about where the song should go, or I'll try maybe a few things and just kind of whatever feels right. My problem now is probably more, I've been doing it long enough that is trying to avoid the same conventions that I have developed over the years. You develop your own habits, and sometimes that's cool, but sometimes you get bored of it. And
Sure.
So now more the challenge is like, how do I do something that still feels natural and not forced, but maybe is not the first thing I would think of.
Okay. And that, I assume there's a lot of trial and error in that process, as you're describing.
Yeah, and there's also, I think it's really important for me at least to take a break from it, because I can't tell you how many times I've written a song or a part of a song and just been over the moon about it. Just, think it's the best thing I've ever written, and only to come back the next day and hate it. That's probably true of most artists, but it is important for you to, or at least for me to, give it some time to simmer.
Way to bring it back to food.
See what I did there?
Yeah, nice work. That's some pro level stuff right there. If the whole rockstar thing falls apart, I think cooking shows may be. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, the rockstar thing is working out great.
Well, I still got a day job.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So, all right. Do you ever have periods where inspiration won't come, and do you have a process for working through that, or is it just do you put it away for a while, come back to what do you do in moments when that happens?
Yeah, last, I guess 2019, I didn't really write it at all, and truthfully, I come to this place where I wondered if maybe being in a band or writing music was part of my past now. And I wasn't even that depressed about it. Like I was kind of just resigned to that. And it wasn't even necessarily that I didn't feel inspired. Yeah, maybe that's fair to say. I just had lost some confidence and had also just some kind of my focus in life had shifted to a lot more just kind of standard domestic stuff, being a dad and, my regular job. So yeah, there was, that was the first time really in ages that I felt a significant, prolonged block from inspiration. And like I said, I wasn't even really looking for a way out of it so much. It just sort of happened once, Five Iron started working on, I guess, Until This Shakes Apart again. And even that, you can ask the other guys, like I had decided I didn't want to produce it. I didn't want to really do anything. I was trying to get everybody to kind of rein in the vision and just release a single or a couple of songs or something like that, just because the whole thing sounded too daunting to me.
Okay.
So I guess
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I didn't really do anything on my own to push through that. A lot of it had to do with just some of the other people in the band expressing enthusiasm. Also, the MagPod.
Those guys are great.
Podcast. Just hearing what the band has meant to them and a lot of other people kind of gave me a renewed appreciation for Five Iron. So that helped as well. Okay.
Well, that's cool. How much music from the album existed before that point occurred? Has it all been written in the time since then?
Yeah, all of it existed in one form or another. The basic music for the tracks, the lyrics, and especially the vocal melodies changed a lot, and we added a lot of additional elements, horn arrangements, that sort of thing. But yeah, the foundation of all the songs were there, and a lot of those are several years old.
At what point did it become a collaborative process at which you were passing stuff back and forth between everybody and saying, at what point did that begin?
Well, that I shared demos with the other guys and girl in the band from the beginning, basically. Like as soon as I have a good verse and a chorus, I send it out just to get some reactions and let that kind of be my indication if it's something that's worth finishing or not. And anyone is welcome to, interject or put forward ideas at any time. And that's sort of inconsistent with how often that actually happens. But I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Just it pretty much once an idea begins to take shape, it like seeking feedback seems like an important part of the process from what you're describing to me. Lauren in the chat asks, when did you realize you wanted to make music?
Kind of late. I didn't start playing guitar until I was 17. And I grew up wanting to be an illustrator or an animator. So I went to art school. That's what I thought I was going to do. I mean, for as long as I can remember. I mean, from a very early age. And when I started playing guitar, I kind of fell in love with it, but still didn't have any aspirations until probably not until like I met Reese and Keith. And then not long after, they asked me to be in Exhumator. And so even then, even when 5-iron started, I liked doing it, but I didn't have any serious aspirations. It just sort of steamrolled, I guess, from there.
So writing songs for Exhumator, writing songs for 5-iron, this was an outcropping of mostly just wanting to be in a band and like make music with your friends, and I guess not be a cover band, possibly.
Yeah. And even the band thing sort of happened almost by accident. Like I mean, when Exhumator started, I'd been playing guitar for a year. So I was like, I'm not good enough to be in a band. I haven't been doing this long enough. But the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it, and the more I wanted to keep doing it.
There you go. Okay. Well, that worked out kind of nicely. In an interview, you for the watchers of the show who don't know, you briefly left 5-iron briefly for a number of years, and when leaving, there was a comment on how the success of the band had a lot to do with timing and had a lot to do with ska being popular at the time, which personally I think undersells the quality of y'all's music. But at the same time, I can appreciate a desire to do new things whenever you've been wildly successful doing something that just seemed like it might just be a passing thing. I don't know. I don't have any question to associate with that. Anyway.
This is one of those instances where my lack of multitasking skills is coming back to haunt me. So
you're doing great, man.
I was waiting for a question there, and now I don't have anything interesting to say.
You're great. That's exactly what happened to me. I was hoping Lauren is coming in clutch with the questions for me right now. Can you explain the mindset or background for the album Cheeses? He wasn't in the band when they released Cheeses.
Yeah, I was mortified when I found out that stuff was released. But there's a lot of genuinely funny stuff on there. But I thought the songs that were intentionally funny were great, but releasing songs like Burn and some of those B-sides, that was the mortifying bit.
Yeah, I'll bet. That rough cut of Fistful of Sand has been an infinite source of laughter for me personally.
I'm glad it's brought you joy.
That it has. Friends of mine will have seen the Album Clouds project I did, where I was learning how to do like data-based word clouds. So I used 5-iron Frenzy lyrics to practice on. I think I sent these to you, Scott. I think you laughed at the quantity as job one album cloud because the word pants was huge. It was like the most prominent word on the album. But for transcribing those lyrics to that botched take of Fistful of Sand, I realized this is Reese, not you. But like Fields of Shum Shum was one of the funniest things I've ever laughed at. Anyway, yeah, that album. That album was kind of a ride to listen to. Okay. Lauren wants to know any other artists you're currently listening to.
My favorite album of last year was probably Bombay Bicycle Club. Also like the Phoebe Bridgers album a lot.
Okay.
Oh, that's loud.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
There we go. That should be a little more manageable.
That's all right. I like Lost Natives, their stuff quite a bit recently. Or local natives.
Oh yeah, they're great. I saw them in Austin a couple months ago. Great show. Go ahead.
Metric has been a big favorite of mine for the last several years, so I'm pretty much a fanboy of anything they do.
Okay. They do dance music, right?
Yeah, it's become kind of electronic pop, still with some, they still have quite a bit of organic instrumentation, but they've evolved a lot over the years, and I celebrate their entire catalog.
Nice Office Space reference.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and so between the two of us, I am also something of a attempted multitasker more than a successful multitasker. Lauren wants to know how you discovered the genre ska.
I think it was Keith that kind of introduced the rest of the band. At least that's who I remember. I don't know if Reese had gotten into it. He had a Skink and Pickle CD, and that was my introduction to it. I wasn't familiar with any of the earlier waves of ska. I'd heard some Madness and English Beat, but I didn't know like what that genre was called, and I hadn't heard enough of it to have really bonded with it. But the Skink and Pickle album I thought was great. We got into No Effects around that time, which in addition to endearing, I guess, myself to that kind of pop punk, also they had some ska elements, which I liked how they incorporated the two. So that was my introduction to it.
Okay. And whenever you set out to start writing tunes, how deep into analysis did you get, or you just go straight by ear into strumming chords and writing stuff down?
Yeah, again, I guess for me, music has always been pretty intuitive. I like the math part of it too, but I don't start that way. So yeah, I don't really remember. I remember the first ska-ish song that we wrote was a song called Flinch, and it was just it was a chord progression with offbeats, as simple as that. And then you just you do it enough times and you kind of get the hang of it, and that's how songs just kind of fell out of me for a while.
Nice. And whenever you left the band for a while, you pursued writing your own songs. You Yellow Second put out. I listened to the Yellow Second album again last night, and it's very much a departure from the music you had been writing with Five Iron. And I'm trying to put you in a good position to answer questions where you're not having to like talk badly about work you did. That people still love. So when approaching the writing of that first Yellow Second album, what did you find was the most how do I phrase this question away? What did you enjoy most about not writing ska anymore? Like what did you enjoy most about being able to write whatever was in your head instead of having to stick to what was the flavor of the month in 1997?
I just got tired of it, like the rest of the world.
Sure.
I mean, I really did love it for a long time. I think that just how joyful it was really, I think, spoke to all of us. But for me at least, it just got kind of annoying.
Yeah.
It was like a jingle or something, you know. All the things I liked about it, I guess it just lost their I don't know how to say it. I guess for whatever reason, I just, it grew stale to me.
Sure.
Beyond stale, it just got annoying. So I was ready to move on, and I always listened to other styles of music. Power pop had become something that I loved a lot, and found that I also had kind of a knack for writing. Bands like, of course, Weezer was a huge influence. Superdrag, the Posies, Teenage Fan Club. So I just kind of fell in love with that style of music, and it was just time for a change.
So just to give our audience some context, if I pull up a 5 Iron song and a Yellow Second song, if 5 Iron copyright strikes my video, I understand. But just for comparison, like here's a track off of the first 5 Iron album. This is track 1, side 1, The Old West. So, Scott, I won't make you listen to any more of that.
Thank you.
And then being able to branch out from that to writing what really was 2 albums straight of that music that definitely sold in 1997, and being able to write something a little different. You called it power pop. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
So we're talking night and day here. And I did years and years and years and years of, and the sail away. It's a really great song. Y'all check out Yellow Second's album Altitude on Spotify if you've got the time. It's a really good album. But being able to step away from what you've been doing before, being able to make something new, I think that's great. I think it's great that you're able to do that. I think it informed your work whenever you came back to 5 Iron, because now the new album, you're really exploring slower tempos. You're really exploring new sounds. You've got more context for our audience. Here's While Supplies Last off the new album. And from a music theory standpoint, you can say, well, Old West and While Supplies Last have this in common. They start out with outlining the triad. They move through the tonic, through the mediant, through the subdominant, and the horns. They outline the triads in downward motion. But there's a lot better use of articulations and passing tones. The rhythms are just more developed, and it just feels it's a more mature sound that you were able to develop, which I think is great. I should have a question for you, Scott. I'm just raving at you about your music. I apologize for just being a fanboy. You came on to, but I really admire the growth you were able to do while you were doing stuff that wasn't strictly 90s Christian ska, and what you brought to the band afterwards. So anyway, if you can find a question in there.
I appreciate all that. All the music theory jargon that you just threw at me, I have no idea what any of that means.
Oh wow!
Just so you know.
Okay. No, that's
my musical theory knowledge is very rudimentary. I mean, I know the basics of what makes a particular chord a chord. And like even things like the circle of fifths, I sort of know, but I just, again, I've always had pretty good luck with that musical intuition, and so just whatever excites me as I'm writing, that's what I do.
Yeah. Okay. And
yeah, sorry, I can't speak to any of the actual musical theory part of it.
Oh, you're good, man. I just wanted to flex my music degree one last time before
Nice
I
work.
become a permanent software developer forever. Thank you. And so that freedom is great, and I just love what it's done for the band. I get an F on tying that all into a question, which I will just have to take, and I'll take that L and just move on. So, what do you think? What do you think comes next? What do you think? Is it going to be? I guess we got to get through COVID, and then I assume there'll be some shows to tour the new album.
Yeah, all that stuff's kind of on hold at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And also, whenever we get around to it, you know, touring, you have to put in air quotes, because a tour for us is a weekend of 2 shows generally. But it'll be great. We're all looking forward to getting out there and playing some of these songs live and seeing what's next. But for now, yeah, kind of like the rest of the world, all those types of plans are kind of in limbo.
Whenever you're writing,
excuse me.
Oh, you're good. When you're writing the music, is the live performance a consideration in what goes into the final cut?
For me, it's not. In fact, some concerns were expressed early on about our ability to play some of these live, just because this record has a lot of little textural elements that, you know, it's very difficult to reproduce, at least in the sense that somebody would play them. And so, you know, we've had discussions about how we're actually going to pull that off. But I never, in the writing phase, want to be limited in that way. It just, that kind of takes the fun out of it.
Sure.
So I don't really, I just kind of back burner that problem to solve when it comes time to actually play it live.
Okay. And that to me just seems like the better way to compose, because then you're free to use all the ideas in your head and you're not constrained. What are the 3 words we would each use to describe 5-iron? Do you want to go first?
The 3 words to describe 5-iron. That's a tough one. I think you should go first.
Okay, so I am in public, and so any member of the I Hate 5-iron frenzy group might be watching, and so I have to be careful, and I'm hanging out with you, so I don't want to like fawn, so I've got to balance myself carefully here. Let's see. Old is probably an insufficient. So let's see. 3 words. Funny, loving, and what's a compound word for dynamite performers? How do you put that together? High octane, let's say.
All right, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say family I choose. No, it's not really.
That's such a great answer. Nice. Good question, Laura. That's a good question. Okay, so I've literally worked through all the questions I had for you. Most of them were about the songwriting process and how you get ideas out and how you work through periods. And so We can talk about what's happening with the recipe. The instructions are all on screen. I think we're about to fry some shallots. Yes, I'm about to fry some shallots. Looks like you've got your broth going there.
I do, and I already fried my shallots. I
Nice.
did that beforehand.
Yeah, you really did come prepared, which I can respect. I guess we're just hanging out now. I've worked through all my prepared material. I guess we're just hanging out and making a recipe. So thanks for hanging out, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. So I guess I assume the next album is probably like 95% done at this point. And
Not even close.
okay. But I gotta assume that if you're probably, no, I don't want to assume. I'll just ask. Do you have like beginnings of songs already started?
I've got a few. I mean, I've got lots of riffs or very, very small starts that I could mine for ideas. I don't know if any of them will be. I mean, again, these things are just in their infancy, so I haven't made a proper demo or anything. They're just voice notes right now. So there are any number of things like that that, if I took the time, could be fleshed out for 5 Iron Songs. I actually have another project I'm working on. I can't divulge any details just yet because those are still being. Whoa!
I'll let you talk around that while I turn off my smoke alarm.
Cow, that's loud.
Sorry, man. So I don't know if you've watched any of my older videos, but I think every time I've cooked for Vegify, I've set off the smoke alarm. So apologies for that.
It's a tradition.
Yes, it's a requirement. Oh, thanks, Sarah. She says she loves the sizzling sound. This is a sizzle reel.
So how many people are actually watching right now?
Right now, I don't know. Let's see. Literally none of my software is updating. So you're saying new Yellow second album confirmed from John Pardo?
No, it's not Yellow Second.
Okay.
How you doing, John?
Audience, if you're not listening to MagPod and you're a fan of Scott, you gotta be listening to Magnified Pod. John is an amazing host, and he and Andrew put on a heck of a show, and I've never not laughed my way through an entire episode. John says it's good.
Cosign.
Right on. I have no idea how many people are watching. Let's see. We got a couple on YouTube. We got 3 or 4 on Facebook. It looks like I have no idea how many on Twitch. So if only Lauren had shown up. Yes, this recipe is legit. Agreed. If only 4 or 5 people had shown up, I wouldn't have. I would have been quite content because the storms in Texas and Oklahoma. I've got pretty much everybody without power on my news feed. Everybody's just like using their last little bit of energy to tweet out, "I'm cold."
That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty wild.
All right, so I've got 2 glasses here. So I did make that fish sauce recipe, the vegan fish sauce that I found and sent you.
Yeah.
So I made that, and I also bought the stuff that you recommended. I was going to try a little bit in each before I commit.
Okay. Okay.
You said you ended up doing the recipe, right?
I did both as well.
Okay. What was your preference?
I have not yet tried the Tofuna. It just showed up today, so this will be my first time trying it today. I'll be interested in what you think. Also be interested to hear how the Gardein strips work out in this recipe.
Yeah, they do taste, just tasting them on their own, they taste very different. The store-bought one is, it's got a pretty prominent pineapple juice flavor.
Okay. Is that gonna complement the recipe or make it worse, do you think?
I just tasted it. It tastes good.
Okay. All right. So that step's done. We're on step 7, the final step. With chicken and sweet potatoes close to tender, stir in the fish sauce. Chicken on the chat. Looks like Scott's doing a wine tasting.
Yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it? Ooh, I added an extra árbol chili to this, and it's pretty potent.
Excellent. Okay, throwing in the coconut milk.
You know, I like the store-bought one actually. The added citrus is nice.
Okay.
I mean, we do put lime juice in it as well, so that might add the thing that's missing to the other one, but I think I'm gonna go with that.
All right. I'll take your word for it. So, is there anything that no interviewer yet has asked you about the new album, about music that you've just been dying to get out of your system? Any piece of information that we just got to know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't do many interviews other than the MagPod ones.
Okay.
And they have given ample opportunity to kind of chime in, elaborate on whatever. And I always, I guess, just assume that people don't give really a shit about the music, or very few people give a small shit about the music. You know, most of the attention, and rightly so, goes to the lyrics. But so I always, I guess, maybe am afraid that if I drone on about musical details, that people aren't going to be interested anyway. But no, you've been great. Like, I do enjoy talking about it, as long as people are, you know, actually interested in those details.
Consider me interested. If the audience weren't here, that would probably be literally all I just want to know everything about, like, you know, what loop-de-loop did you put in there that you're so proud of that nobody's even noticed yet?
Honestly, I've been pleasantly surprised about the response to the album in general, but specifically, people do seem to be picking out those details that I find when I'm adding them that I'm just doing it for myself because it amuses me and my ears like to hear that sort of thing. But it's, you know, it's gratifying when people are commenting that they notice those details as well.
So can you give me an example?
Yeah, there's a lot of how do I put it? I mean, I fall back on the word textures in all the songs though. There's just different effects. Sometimes they're applied to an instrument like a guitar. It might be a delay or some kind of sort of modulating effect. or like the bass tone. You know, a lot of people have commented on, you know, enjoying the fuzzy bass sound, which is cool. But the fact that they're even picking out the bass, you know, which oftentimes until your ears are attuned to that, a lot of people don't actually hear that. I know it's easier on this record because there's a lot more space and it's not buried under a wall of guitars, but that would be what, you know, a couple of examples of those sorts of details. You know, there are other things that are just literally noises, like sounds, like in So We Sing. You know, I don't know if you've ever played with a delay pedal, but
Yeah.
most delay pedals, if you just change the actual delay time, there will be a kind of a glitchy sound as it goes from one time to another, and you can actually end up, you know, certain delays do it more musically than others, or at least create sounds that I think are cooler, and you can kind of play your effects pedals in a way that they weren't really intended to be played, and adding those as you know, to give certain sections a lift, I think is pretty cool, and yeah, it's almost like sound design or something.
Yeah, I was about to ask about sound design because you did a ton of that kind of work for the Fast Feeling. I mean, there were synths all over the place on that album, and so did that? I assume that played into a lot of the choices that were made on this album, is like learning that and applying it to the new. Was that synthesizer? There weren't many synthesizers on this album. Like there were a couple of reggae keyboards.
There were some, and as far as the Fast Feeling stuff goes, like you know, Matt Langston also did a lot of that stuff, and so I want to give, you know, him the credit he deserves for that. But yeah, we both have, I guess, an affinity for that sort of thing with our own kind of I don't know, flavor of it, if that makes sense. And I've always enjoyed putting those elements into songs, even going, you know, far back as some of the Yellow Second stuff. But just the longer I write music, the more time I spend on those details. Because for me, at least, those are the layers that keep me coming back and wanting to listen to it, both in my own songs and other people's too.
Sure. Yeah, that tracks. For me, when I listen to even like old music, my degree is in singing opera and art song, and so when I go back and listen to Mozart, I'm so sorry to be basic. The layers of the instrumentation and like the way he chooses to arpeggiate things and the way he chooses to use his instruments is what keeps you coming back. He's not just writing basic counterpoint like here's four voices, I'm going to follow all the leading rules. It's the way, yeah, layering in the textures, getting all the good ideas out and getting them expressed. It's an impressive thing to me as a person who loves to perform and never quite got the hang of writing. It's a skill I really admire, and so I like the way y'all have put that together on the new album. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to develop maybe the confidence in, you know, like I've always felt like it's cool, but maybe a little reluctant to do too much of it before somebody starts saying, hey, you know, what the hell is this sound that you're putting in the song? And I guess I just keep doing it more, and so far no one's complaining. So yeah, I like those details.
Lauren wants to know, what was the best and worst thing about being in a band?
For me, the best thing is just, yeah, being able to create all the time. And, you know, when people other than myself give a shit, then that is even better.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah.
Worst thing, there are plenty of bad things. There's this weird, it's hard to find a place of contentment when you're touring, because when you're home, I always felt like I couldn't wait to get back out on the road. And then when I'm out on the road, I would get miserable and want to be home. And so for me, at least, it was hard to find, I guess, a way to be happy with that. Especially thinking back to, when you're in your early 20s and like the things that I would get so upset about with other band members, and it's understandable, being that age and being confined, with 8 people in such a small place or a small space, for weeks on end. It's bound to, at least at times bring out the worst in you. But that's a thing that it takes a long time to get used to. So, and I don't know that everybody actually does, grow into that in a way that is healthy.
I know that for
That's what I would
me,
say.
an hour on a Zoom call can make me cranky, and so I can't imagine, to quote Reese, 8 people in a stinky van. I can't imagine sustaining that for any longer than 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, the fact that y'all made it through any tours at all is something I'll be impressed at anytime you're looking for that. So Lauren says all the touring time prepared you for 2020 confinement. I suppose. What is that? Yeah, no.
Sorry, I missed that last one.
Oh,
all the touring time.
You're good. Yeah, prepared you for the 2020 confinement.
It's way different. This is like, it's being confined with 8 people in a stinky van. That's kind of the opposite problem. But I am definitely about as introverted as they come. Like I enjoy. Maybe that's probably an exaggeration. But I am introverted, and so I don't mind the the time by myself. In fact, I really need it, both for songwriting, but just for recharging, that whole thing. So I think it's been a lot harder on people like Leonore, who are definitely as extroverted as they come. So
I think there's upsides and downsides to lockdown. In that there are a lot of disabled people who couldn't get accessibility needs met before, and then all of a sudden, when everybody needed them, remote meetings are suddenly possible. And so a lot of people who couldn't go to meetings or go to class suddenly have a way to go because everybody's doing online classes. But those upsides are, you kind of have to look for them. They're kind of few and far between, because the really terrible thing is, extroverts, like you said, like Leonore, can't see everybody, and we can't do shows, and we can't. I don't know. I'm tired of being locked down, to tell you the truth, but I understand people who are finding the upside. I suppose that's the way you make it through it, and don't just totally lose your sense of self.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we would have finished the album without it, truthfully.
Okay.
I could be wrong, or at least not as quickly as we did.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. If anybody in the chat's got any more questions for Scott, that'd be great. I literally worked through all of my questions much faster than I meant to or intended to, and without preparation, I'm something of a confusing, stammery person, and so I appreciate the chat for carrying me through those moments. And if y'all got anything, Lauren wants to know, it's also hard to be introverted during normal times because there is no opportunity for me time. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think for me, I've maintained a certain level of selfishness. So, yeah, I mean, I think I probably have maybe done better than most about just always carving out that time, because otherwise I feel like I am not yeah, I'm just, yeah, like you said earlier, you get cranky if I don't take that time for myself.
Here's to upsides. Cheers.
What's that?
Said here's to upsides. Cheers. And I raised an
Yeah.
imaginary wine glass.
So my stew is done.
Excellent.
It's ready.
I think mine probably
Where are
is.
you at?
I think mine probably is too. I think we're at a good moment of truth, a good opportunity to taste test. Let's see how this goes. It looks fantastic. I'll be interested to see what you think of the Gardein strips. Lauren is so good at coming up with the questions.
I was, I'll admit, a little disappointed that the jackfruit didn't work out.
Me too.
Just I like that idea better, but
Me too.
got to roll with it, right?
Yeah. Thanks for being a good sport about it.
Yeah, no problem.
For the audience, the intention initially was to not use mock meats. I wanted to use jackfruit, but I found that I couldn't get the jackfruit flavor of the brine to completely leave the jackfruit. I tried boiling it for 2 hours, draining it, and squeezing it out, and that didn't quite do it. So rather than invest my remaining couple days in which I needed to set up the tech of the stream, I thought I'll just go with mock meats, and it was a defeat, a loss for me. But I had to take it in stride and advise mock meats.
Sorry if I just outed you there.
It's okay. I try to live transparently, and it's been thrust upon me, and I've accepted it. Hopefully people will say I accepted it with grace.
Well, you ready to try this?
Let's do it.
All right. Sorry if these AirPods make all the chewing sounds, very loud and disgusting.
We fully plan to hold it against you. Well, that actually came out pretty good on my end.
No, it is good.
Okay. The
stew especially, is great. I still would like to try it. If you figure out the secret, getting that jackfruit to work, I think that would be a worthwhile endeavor.
I agree. I find that non-vegans in general have very strong opinions on mock meats. And so when veganizing recipes, I find that usually, if you're not already vegan, the way to make it interesting is to do it with a whole food of some sort. Vegans, we don't care because like we used to love chicken and now we don't eat chicken, so yay mock meat. But I wanted the jackfruit to work out because I like giving vegan food to non-vegan people. I don't know why. I just like doing it. So I'll come back to that. If I find a solution before the final edit is done, I'll add it to the final edit of this live stream.
Yeah, I would say that the soup is flavorful enough to where it still tastes pretty great. The meat by itself doesn't have much flavor to it, despite being marinated and all that. So it's sort of just this like kind of void, I guess, in the mouthful. I couldn't think of a better way to say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. That's great. That's great.
But no, the soup is still great.
That's
everything else turned out well. So
you're very diplomatic while also clear, which I respect. I take your meaning. I understand it. I'm not offended, nor am I upset. Uh, Lauren asks, what is something you've learned about yourself in the last decade or so?
Lauren, just coming in with all these questions.
You're going to talk about a great partner.
I'm so terrible about coming up with answers to this on the spot.
Right
in general, okay, here's something that I guess I could say. I don't know if this is really 10 years, but when it comes to things like public speaking, giving interviews, etc., I've learned about myself that I feel like it knocks about 20 IQ points off of me. I don't know why. It's like I don't feel super anxious now. I think it's there's like a layer of anxiety about, there being this permanent record if I say the wrong thing, or say something the wrong way, or neglect to say something that, people will have the wrong impression, and for whatever reason that trips me up. But if I didn't learn it in the last 10 years, it's definitely become more present in my mind. So
it's relatable.
Yeah.
You've watched me stammer and work my way through the anxiety of doing this live stream. So hopefully you feel a little less alone in at least that. She's so encouraging. Thank you, Lauren.
She really is.
Yeah. Get you a partner in STEM if you're still looking out there, audience. I don't know why I associate it with STEM. Lauren's just a great person. She also happens to be in STEM. So I'm gonna say this recipe is not yet quite a success. I think with tofu, it would probably work as intended, and I would advise most people probably do it with tofu instead of mock meats, because the mock meats are only they don't really do much for the recipe versus what tofu would do. Maybe add some cornstarch to the tofu and fry it so it's a little crispier. That might add a dimension or two, but the mock meat doesn't really replace chicken the way you'd want it to in the recipe. And I tried making this 4 or 5 times over the course of the weekend, and it always turned out fine. But if they were all home runs wouldn't be special. The idea of this whole conversation was just really an opportunity for me to hang out with Scott and ask him about songwriting, ask him about music, ask him and talk to him about all that stuff. And we've accomplished our mission here. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of it. Scott, thank you for being on the show tonight.
You're welcome.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. And we did use so much jackfruit. I still have 10 cans of jackfruit in my pantry. So I got to figure it out. Otherwise, I'm going to be eating bitter jackfruit for the next year. So,
I did see one video because I started looking around. I didn't get to the point where I wanted to dive in and start experimenting, just because it did seem pretty time consuming with the boiling and then the straining and then the boiling again, and each time for an hour. I did see one though that they removed like the inner part of it. I don't know if that's something you did, like where the seeds are. I don't know if that part of the flesh is harder, and maybe if that's where some more of the bitterness comes. But sorry, I know we don't really need to work all this out on that.
These are fair ideas. Because in the final, if I figure it out before the final edit, that'll be useful. I'll be like, oh, Scott gave me this idea. I did pull out the cores in the first time I did the recipe, but I didn't the second time. So that may be, you're probably exactly spot on. So if I boil it and get rid of the cores, that would probably fix the rest of the flavor. And I'm a little embarrassed now that I didn't actually think of that, because I totally had that information in my head and just didn't connect them. So we'll blame my now diagnosed ADHD for that. and move forward with the knowledge that maybe there's new things to try, which I will do before posting the edit of this. Bye, MacArthur. That's my little brother. Thanks for watching the stream, Mac. Jonathan, our editor, Jonathan Graves, says wonderful chat. Lauren says another great nugget from Scott. MacArthur says good night. And I think MacArthur is leading the charge on where we need to go with this live stream. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And again, thank you, Scott, for being a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
All right. See you later, everybody.